Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Hollow Place podcast. I'm here with SpaceMan Zack.
Yo, yo, yo.
This is our third episode, and yeah, we got some topics to jump into today. First off, quick update on the channel. We're still doing like brackets and other stuff. I'm working on a pop song bracket that my girlfriend put together that we filmed. Geez, probably almost a month ago. They take a long time to. They take a long time to edit. So that should be done soon, hopefully. And then I think we're going to move the brackets down to 16 songs or artists instead of 32 because they're so long. And I just feel like they'll be easier to put together. And hopefully we'll have some like other type of content on here as well. But yeah, just quick update. Appreciate you guys for watching these. Appreciate all the feedback. Please subscribe to the channel.
Like and subscribe.
Please share the podcast with everybody you know.
Yeah, send it to your mom.
Yeah, literally. All right. So, that being said, first topic we got today is someone asked us if we had like an unlimited budget, or if you had an unlimited budget, what do you think you would spend that on creating?
That's such a hard question though, because it's like I don't know. There's like so many different avenues I'd want to go
Yeah.
with, but I guess if I had an unlimited budget, then I could do all the avenues.
What's the first one?
But I think that I think that I would try to make like an album, and I think that I would just like spare no expense getting all the artists that I want. I would love to make a song with like Uzi and like Future and shit. And if
Yeah.
I had the money to buy a feature type thing, I would just like stack it up with all the people I wanted, all the producers that like, like that are really big and like
Yeah.
whatever. So I would just make like a really crazy album. And then I think genuinely what would just make me super happy is if me and you could take an unlimited budget and just like make music videos, because I think that's the biggest thing where budget comes into play for us is like we're always like coming up with ideas for videos that
Yeah.
require like CGI and shit like that, and like we're like, oh, there's no way like we can
Yeah.
do that for a couple $100, you know what I'm saying? That and like, bro, this might sound like diva-ish of me, but like I want to record a video on set with like trailers and like refreshments and like I want we're like the Wicked shoots and stuff. It was like hot as hell. We were in like the desert. Like I want to go to a trailer that's air conditioned after 15 minutes, take a break, and then come back and shoot again. Like I don't know. And then maybe a tour, like a crazy tour,
Yeah.
like funding a tour. There's just so many things I'd want to do.
Yeah.
Cause like budget as like a independent artist, especially one that's not massively huge, budget just plays such a big effect into like what you can do.
Right.
Like people hit me up a lot and they're like, when are you coming to tour Europe? And it's like,
Yeah.
bro, do you know how expensive it is? Like it costs $1,000 just to get there.
Yeah.
And then to put on shows over there is crazy.
Yeah.
So-
Especially if you're doing it yourself.
Yeah, so just there's so much because budget holds people back, I think.
Oh
But-
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
What yeah. about you? No, I agree. I mean, I think it would be great if we had like an unlimited budget to do like a bunch of music videos, especially like kind of what we do with the album sometimes, which is like all the videos kind of go together
Yeah.
and tell a story. And I think that like yeah, just having a budget to like you said, I think that if you're able to be like comfortable wherever you're filming, it's easier to like bring to life what you want to bring to life.
Well,
And
I
then-
would like stay on location for like 3 days just
Yeah.
to shoot. You know what I'm
That's what
saying?
I'm saying, and that way, there wouldn't be. Well, like you said, I don't think that's so much of a diva thing as it's like I think that what having those things affords you, which is mostly like time,
Yeah.
would allow you to like make sure that you're getting everything you need without feeling like you're in a rush. Because I think so many of the videos I've done with you or with other people too, you're kind of always like you don't even have enough time, especially if you're going out of your way to travel somewhere, or even if you're renting somewhere, like the longer you're there,
Yeah.
the more it costs. So
Yeah.
I think just having like an unlimited budget would make videos a lot easier to produce, but also like, you can rent out like more expensive locations or like entire like
Yeah.
set pieces or
And like hire a crew.
yeah, like hire a crew
Yeah.
and hire even specific people that you like want to work with as
Yeah.
opposed to like even if you're working with a small budget, you don't necessarily have your like pick of who exactly you want to work with. So I think that would be great. I also think it would be cool to I guess this isn't really like a creative endeavor, but I think it'd be cool to if I had an unlimited budget, like open a studio or something um, that had like a bunch of different film sets or like even a recording studio.
Yeah.
A place to shoot this would be nice other than my office.
Yeah. Well, we've
Um,
talked about doing that, and
Yeah.
that's if we had the budget, I would just be like, let's fucking do it.
Yeah, I think that would be
So-
great. And then I think I had one, oh, I think it would be I used to be super passionate about this, and now I think I still would, but I don't know if it'd be at the top of my list. But I do think it'd be cool to have like a label or some sort of artist development type of thing, and not on like a huge scale. Like I think it'd be cool to have like I guess like an indie label or something.
Yeah, like a boutique thing.
Yeah, and I think the coolest thing about the studio I was talking about or the label, if I had an unlimited budget, is like it would be nice to run those things without also worrying about like making money.
Yeah.
So it'd
yeah.
be like more about like just doing what you
Yeah.
want.
So you could like take risks and like
Yeah.
focus on passionate stuff instead of just like I need to make money this month.
Yeah, or do what I think a lot of labels don't do anymore. I think we talked about this last episode, but like a lot of labels will choose artists that they want to work with. Like they have like algorithms that they just type a name into, and it
Yeah.
tells them like whether they're worth it or not.
Mm.
I think it'd be nice to try to develop artists that you like as opposed
Yeah.
to kind of what goes on now.
I would love to develop an artist that has 200 monthly listeners and be like, you're so good though that you're untapped.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah, exactly. And even like there wouldn't be so much. This is not really a risk, but I guess it just wouldn't be like a huge money move. But like even if you're able to develop someone from like 200 monthly listeners to like 500,000, like
Yeah.
it's not like everyone even has to be like a huge
Yeah.
megastar.
yeah.
You just put people in positions.
But just like helping spread passionate music too. It's
That's
just
what
like
I'm
a huge thing. I also think that I would honestly, not creative, I would hire like a personal trainer and like a dietitian. I would
Yeah.
live like a movie star. Like I would, cause like, bro, I'm so serious. I'm like serious about my health and shit now. And like, I think that goes into like, cause it makes me feel confident and like better on screen. But like, bro, movie stars out here with nothing but money and time on their hands to eat the best diets and work out the best workouts and shit. I would be all on that.
yeah, me
Like
too.
if we weren't making music, I would be with like a physical trainer,
Yeah.
getting fucking ripped.
Yeah.
I would look like Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
me too. Yeah, that would be awesome.
That'd be lit.
Maybe one day. Me and Hannah played the lottery the other day, and
Really?
yeah, just because we
Yeah,
were like,
why
why
not?
not? And I think it was like 80 million,
Yeah.
and they were drawing that night, and I was like, I convinced myself we were gonna win, and then I was kind of sad when we didn't win.
Dude, I do that all the time. Like, not for the lottery. I think I've done it like once, but like my grandpa used to give us scratch offs
Yeah.
for Christmas, like in our stocking, and I would be like, yo, I might win $50,000 today.
Yeah,
And like I would like, and then I'd be disappointed when I
Yeah.
didn't, and I'm like, well,
I was like, I was like, I think we're gonna win the $80 million, and then we didn't, and I was like, damn.
can you imagine though?
No, but I was like, I feel like it might happen.
I don't know what I would do. I think I would just cry.
I would sob.
Yeah, I think I would just cry. I don't know. Like that I almost feel like I might have a heart attack. Like that would be so overwhelming.
Yeah, it sounds kind of scary, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe one day, maybe I'll keep playing the lottery and we'll win one
We
day.
should.
Okay, next thing. Someone mentioned to us to talk about something I thought was kind of interesting, and you'll know more about than I do, but is BandLab and like kind of recording yourself at your house versus recording in like a big studio, and I guess where that trend is kind of going, because me and you used to talk about this even before BandLab, and like when you still had your engineer and stuff, but like just recording at home, I felt like was kind of new back in like 2017.
It was like the DIY era.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it's not so new anymore, but I think even now with like BandLab, which I've heard from you and other people, is a lot more accessible and it's free.
It's I pay like $10 a month, but I think that's because I get more. I think there is a free version.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's got to be, yeah.
Because I think that I paid $10 more so that I could have more tracks in one thing. But yeah.
So, isn't everything post like late, like everything late 2024 on is SpaceMan Zack is
all me recording and mixing
in BandLab?
Yeah, in BandLab.
Yeah, I was talking to Pablo the other day.
Yeah.
Pablo Worldwide.
Shouts out Pablo.
Yeah.
He texted me and I didn't respond. Sorry, Pablo.
Damn,
I will
that's
hit you back.
But he was telling me about someone in his city that two younger rappers that he knows, and he was like, they both use BandLab and like they go crazy. And I was like, yeah, I think it's kind of the wave because like everything Zach's been doing is all in BandLab. And he was like, really?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. I don't know anything about like.
Yeah, you just gotta get your. It's so funny. I tell people all the time. They're like, "What, like autotune do you use?" Because you can, a lot of DAWs like with Logic and Ableton and all that stuff. You can like put your own autotune in and not just use the stock one that they have. So like when I recorded with J4Y, we used Logic, but then he got on Terrace autotune, and that's like not a stock one. He bought it and brought it in because it's a better autotune. And usually stock autotunes are really, really bad, and they just sound bad, and like they don't flow very well.
Yeah.
And so people all the time, they're like, "What autotune do you use?" And I'm like, literally the stock autotune that came with BandLab, the free autotune on BandLab. And they're like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude. If you just blend it, and because again, there's always the people who don't know how autotune works, and they're like, "Oh, it's a crutch." Blah blah blah. If you know how to sing, you're really just pitch correcting yourself. So like,
right.
You don't need a crazy autotune. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying I'm a great singer, because if you've ever heard me sing live, I'm very pitchy. So
You're a good singer.
Yeah, I can carry a tune. I wouldn't say I'm like.
I think you're a good singer.
Out here. Thanks. Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, dude.
But yeah, I mean, I think that the trend has been happening for a while, like you said, you know, with that whole era being very DIY. And I think a lot of like COVID was a big thing too, because people couldn't go to a studio for a while, and like even before that. But I know a big problem was people couldn't afford, like Logic is expensive.
Yeah.
And like all those things are pretty expensive, and so people couldn't afford it. And then like something like BandLab came and it was free, and they also have like their version of like a Logic, which is called Cakewalk, and I want to train myself on it, but I haven't tried it yet. But that's free.
Yeah.
And it's just a more in-depth software. But I think that people will continue to do it the way they have. I just think that like, I don't think labels will get there. Like, I don't think that will really ever happen.
Well, do you think there's any benefit? Because I've been with you when you've recorded in like a professional studio, but is there really any benefit? And I don't know if it's different in like a genre sense, but at least in rap or underground rap or whatever you want to call it, is there really any benefit of like recording in a big studio?
I mean, I can't speak on other genres really. I've seen some like bands record and stuff like that, but for me, no. Actually, I hate it. Yeah. So we like when we were in LA recording at those big studios, it felt out of place, and so I didn't feel comfortable to like make good music.
Yeah.
So I've always preferred a home studio over anywhere. And you can make a home studio sound just as good. That's the thing, is you can make it sound just as good if you know what you're doing.
Right.
But I don't think that, like, I think you'll see like moderately famous people doing like home studio stuff, like, and it'll get even more of them will do it, right?
Yeah.
Like even like someone like Billie Eilish recorded like her first album
Mm-hmm.
like in a home studio, and like
Yeah.
that's awesome to see like a mainstream person doing it. But I think for the most part, labels won't,
Yeah.
and partly I think it's because I don't think that there's any added benefit other than a lot of them will slap like the name of the studio that's legendary and produce so many hits,
Yeah.
right? And they'll be like, well, this album is recorded at blah 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 studios, and if you know anything about blah 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 studios, Elvis recorded here. And it's like, that doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah. So I mean, is there? I'm trying to think of an example of who's like a really poppin' dude in like the scene right now, or woman.
Like in the underground scene.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's
Like a, I mean, like, there's like a net spend.
okay.
Or
Let's
yeah.
net spend. Is there any benefit in of that guy going into like
No.
a studio? and
No, the
recording?
only benefit that could be in that studio is I'm sure that whatever engineers that they have working for him, probably they want to be in the studio.
Right.
So, but other than that, there's nothing about, and no shade to Nesbitt or whatever, but like there's no benefit to him being in $1 million studio as opposed to what I record in, which is a soundproofed closet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's kind of what I assumed. It's just kind of, it is funny how I feel like that's something that will always be, especially in other genres. Because again, I can't speak on it, but I'm thinking of like an Ariana Grande. Like, could she go into your closet and make the same song that she could make?
I think so. Here's the thing. I'm probably going to get roasted for this because there's going to be someone who's going to come in and be real technical, and they're going to be like, well, the decibels of blah, blah, blah. So, whatever. So, I guess there is that benefit. Bro, every song that I've heard on the radio in the past year and a half could have been recorded in somebody's bedroom.
Yeah.
Like, with a good engineer, with a good software, like, whatever. You do not need to be in $1 billion studio, because I think it's so funny too that like most engineers will tell you this. When you look at the studios and there's the big giant mixing boards of like knobs, none of them do, like, they don't touch. They have 3 knobs that they like,
Yeah.
right? And they will move those 3 fucking knobs. It's the same way that when I record, and I've showed you like when I'm recording, you've been in there with me, and I'm mixing my stuff, and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many different filters and blah blah blah. I use the same 3 on
Yeah.
everything. I just manipulate those 3 to make the vocal sound different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you find your little sound and pocket, and then you're good. So
Yeah.
I don't think that there's a need for those giant studios. I just think that labels will do it to keep appearances going forward because it
Yeah.
looks better, I
Yeah.
think. And then I think that also, if we're talking about like big labels, I think that they're very hard-headed in their ways and they don't like to venture outside. And
Yeah.
I think if they do accept the home studio method, it won't be for a while, because I could go to a label right now and they'll be like, cool, let's spend $100,000 to put you in these great studios to make this album. And I'll be like, no, I want to record it at home. And they'll laugh at my face.
Well, I'm
But
sure.
it's like, why?
Yeah, I agree, and I'm sure there's got to be. I don't know this for sure, but there's got to be instances too where it's like labels have deals with these studios to where it's like
sure.
they want their $100,000.
Yeah.
And the label, whatever deal they have worked out with them, can't like not pay them that, because I almost think that a label should appreciate that to an extent because it would save them a lot of money.
That's what I'm saying.
But I think, I'm no economist, but I know there's stuff that goes on where it's like people just.
Well, I think a lot of labels have, like, at their headquarters will have studios too.
Yeah.
Like when we were in LA, we recorded at, it was like a Sony Music studio, and like you go down the hallway and there was like A&Rs and stuff working.
Yeah.
But then we went into our studio, and so I'm sure that they, whether it's tax breaks or whatever they get, it's all in-house, and they probably have people on the payroll And I mean, here's the deal. If I'm an engineer, maybe I do want to work in the $1 million studio because it's more comfortable for me because I have, and if I'm on
Yeah.
Sony's payroll, fuck it.
That yeah, that's what I was gonna say earlier. I think comfortability has to play such a big role because if you, I don't know why I keep thinking of Ariana Grande, but like if you start out in a studio, that's probably where you're comfortable.
Yeah.
I think I would assume just because she was already popping.
There's no way she didn't make her first song in like
Yeah.
a Sony music studio. You know what I'm saying?
So it's probably where she's comfortable. In the same way that you were saying, like, yeah, it makes sense that you'd be uncomfortable in like a big studio because so much of the music that you had already made at that point was all made in like a closet or a bedroom.
Well, and then also, because it breaks down to like who you're comfortable making music with too. Because like for a while, I was only comfortable making music with Jay.
Yeah.
And then now, I don't really want anyone touching my voice. I want to do it because I want to have hands on. But for me, I can really only speak on my personal, I guess. But when I first started making music, it was in my bedroom, and I actually mixed myself. I just didn't know how, and it sounded really bad. And then I ended up linking with Jay and making music still in the bedroom, but he knew how to mix it. When I got to those big studios that were like someone would pay for my session there, it for me felt uncomfortable because there was part of me that was like, I don't like this. I'm not in like my comfort space. Usually I'm in literally I'm sitting on my bed, whatever. But also part of me was like, I don't deserve to be in this studio where there's platinum plaques on the wall. Like, what did you know what I'm saying? So it's like, what about this song that we're making? This song that could be made, right here. What about this deserves this giant studio? So,
But I feel like you could say that about anything though. Like,
agreed. But that was where it came in for me, where like they would be like, all right, go get in the booth. And I'd walk down a hallway and like get into a booth and like there's cameras and like it's so, and I'm like, I don't want to be here, know? And I think that because a lot of those songs that were recorded in those aren't coming out. Like I have them on my phone, but they're not coming out.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Like only like
2?
Not even, because those were recorded in his home studio.
Oh, I guess that's true.
But all the ones that we recorded in like the big studios didn't really come out. And I personally will listen to those and I can tell that like, oh, I was not comfortable. Because the songs don't sound as good and there's nothing wrong with the production, but it's like my performance on them.
Yeah. Just so people can go listen, what we have Don't Need You was recorded, right? In a big studio.
Don't Need You was recorded. Yeah, that one was recorded in like a nice studio.
And then did we do one more? With Matt.
We did, but he had left that studio and he was in like it was like a rented space, but he made it like a home studio.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Because we did I think you just don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
is that one out? Yeah.
Yeah, that one's out.
Yeah, that one's out.
And then the Code Blooded songs.
Yeah. Well, those are home studios.
Saturday Night was home studios.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then we have like that whole laundry list that we made that.
Yeah, we recorded with the Morgue.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what studio that was at, but that was
at like the Sony. That was like or Universal Studios or something.
Yeah, and then we recorded. Or not we, I guess I didn't record them, but you recorded, what was that? We were, I can't remember. I don't think that song ever came out, but we were at a different really big studio.
Dude, yeah, that was like kind of a blur to me. That was like when like drinking was getting really bad, so I was also kind of miserable and like, I remember going in for one of the sessions and the engineer was like, what do you want like to make it more comfortable for you? And I was like, I want a pack of White Claws. And not that that's like a hard drink for anyone to drink, but I remember we were in the session for like 2 hours and I finished the whole like. I think he had like 2 12-packs, and he looked at me and he was like, "Are you finished those?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Okay." And like he was kind of judging me, I think.
Yeah, no, I was there for that. I think, and this is not at all to like.
No, it's fine,
but
bro.
I remember we were there for 2 days,
Mm-hmm.
and we counted before we left. How many White Claws you'd had in 2 days?
Yeah,
And it was I still remember. I'll never forget. It was 53,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Whoa,
Yeah, it's
we've been here
disgusting.
for 3 days."
Yeah.
Um,
It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is
Well,
crazy.
because then the thing is too is that was just there, and then I would go back to the place we
I
were staying and
know.
have more.
I know that's when like I don't know. Yeah, that was just a crazy time. And
Yeah.
again, that's not at all to like laugh about that, but
No, I mean,
it was just wild.
yeah, it was a weird time.
That was kind of weird.
That was when that when I drank the 53 though. That was when I recorded Saturday Night.
Yeah.
Because it was like I remember because I made that song and it was like me, I think admitting to myself like, okay, I don't want to do this
Yeah,
anymore.
I've told you this before.
Yeah.
I was there for that whole process, and I remember I've told you this now. I didn't tell you in the moment, but like it was really interesting to hear you write that
Yeah.
and perform that in a time where it seemed like
Yeah.
it did seem like you were kind of talking to yourself
Yeah.
in a way where you weren't really actually having to like have like a deep
Yeah.
conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was kind of I don't know, the word interesting sounds so dismissive, but I always thought that was like I was just like
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe
No,
it.
I get it though, because I go back and listen to a lot of like we were talking about the Hellraiser album,
Yeah.
and going back into listening to it now with the mind state I have now and like the clean brain that I have, and I listen to these songs, and a lot of times, dude, a lot of my songs I don't remember that they were even when they were made, how they were
Yeah.
made, what they were like, whatever. I don't remember the lyrics, and I'll listen to them now, and a lot of them, not to sound dramatic or like pretentious, but I was like, bro, you were begging yourself to stop doing stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Like it was because I don't even think in the moment I had the consciousness of I don't like doing this until I finally did and I did something about it.
Yeah.
But I think that like my subconscious was like, bro, fucking stop.
Yeah. Hellraiser is actually a really interesting album because I think if you know a little bit more about your story,
Mhm.
and I don't know, it's different for me just because I was around all the time.
Yeah.
But like Hellbound Heart, I don't know if you've listened to that in a while.
Yeah, I went and listened to it.
It's just knowing where you were at. The lyrics are kind of crazy, and they're not. I can't recite them right now, but
Yeah. Well,
they're
the
like-
I'm in hell. Thing
Yeah,
on hell,
but
like
it's-
yeah.
it's what you're saying and the delivery of it.
Yeah.
But it's like they're so like almost devastating and real,
Yeah.
but it's like they're over this like beat that's just like so it's just like
Yeah.
so hype,
Yeah.
and it's like drowning almost.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you're mixed on that whole album is kind of strange too.
Dude, so funny because I was listening back to it and I noticed the same thing, and I noticed that when that was made and mixed was when like I was pushing alcohol onto the people engineering me too.
Okay, yeah.
So like you can kind of just all hear it like
Well, it's that whole album. It sounds, for lack of better words, again, I'm not trying to be funny, but it sounds like you're like lost in the sauce, like literally.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. There is like I think those songs are. I think it's a really interesting look of someone that was kind of in your position.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the music is like I think a lot of the music's still really good.
Yeah.
But
We
But
talked
yeah.
about that too with, my son coming and, people always ask about like, are you going to tell them that they can't drink or like, what's your rules about that, whatever. And like, obviously, once you hit a certain age, like whatever.
yeah.
But, we were talking about how we both were alcoholics, and so like there's that extra pressure that like, hey,
Right.
you know. And I brought it up. I was like, I think it's really interesting though that like most kids don't get their parents will be like, hey, alcoholism runs rampant in our family, but they never see it. Like that's what my parents did for me.
Right.
They were like, hey, just to let you know, if you're gonna start drinking, we got people who died and blah blah blah. I was like, I didn't know those fucking people. It's not gonna affect me.
Yeah.
But my son, just listening to his father's music and watching the music videos and stuff, will almost be able to see the effects
Oh yeah.
that had over time, right?
Yeah.
And I've always said that I won't shy away from any of that. Like with him, I will always tell him, be completely brutally honest, like this is where I was at this time of making this. And I think that it's really interesting to see that like he'll be able to watch the music video and like literally see how I was deprogressing because of that,
Yeah.
So
That
it's
is
just that we like not a lot of people get to see that,
Well,
So-
yeah, even without the videos, like just the music.
just the music
too.
and like
Yeah.
listening to that, like it would be, I never got to see my dad in his alcohol phase or like hear him
Right,
and like,
right,
whatever.
right.
So yeah,
Yeah, even like interviews.
Yeah,
and-
dude.
Yeah, that is really interesting.
it's like all documented.
Yeah.
So-
Wow. Yeah, I've never thought about that.
Yeah,
Yeah. How did we get on the subject of?
we were talking about what we made in nice studios, and then we just went off.
Yeah. Also, we haven't really talked about it on the podcast yet. And I don't know what we would talk about, but if you guys ever want to know, there was a time where it was looking like we were talking to a label,
Mhm.
and that was kind of a really interesting process, especially having never done that before. So if you guys ever want to know anything about that, let us know.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then I think the last thing that we can talk about before we wrap it up is someone asked us to talk about kind of the concept of like uh, micro scenes in the scene. So like kind of the underground scene being what it is, and people having like their own sects or like their own groups within that, and building each other up through that. Which I think is important. My initial thoughts on that were, we've talked about this before, and I hate to sound like I'm complaining a lot or like being like, oh, the good old days, but there's a interview with Fat Nick from a few years ago now, where he was talking about especially with TikTok, things being so different. He was like, when in like 2017, 2018, like if you were in the underground scene, he was like, there's like 60 artists that you could be a fan of.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a million.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting to think about like the SoundCloud era, because there were like it seemed like everyone was generally pretty cool with each other.
Yeah.
And everyone had their groups, like, GBC was its own thing.
Yeah.
X had Very Rare,
Yeah.
like his whole group, and like him and Ski. Even like Bones and Team Sesh, Hollow Water Boys, stuff like that. But it seemed like for the most part, everyone was relatively cool with each other. But now I think it like creating a micro scene or creating like your own little group has gone so far to the point where there's like almost no community, because there's like a million different groups that exist over here that like these million other groups over here don't even know exist.
Yeah.
And then I think you have a lot more isolation now too. I don't think that like groups and collectives generally even work out. I'm kind of like anti that unless they're very loose.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I almost feel like now there is a big lack of community just because everything's so spread out. Like I can go on TikTok every day and see 40 artists I've never heard of, but they also have like 50,000 likes on their TikTok.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how am I supposed to keep up with
with all this?
With all this? And then you read the comments and people are talking about things and referencing things that I've never heard of.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Like, who are you people? So that's kind of my rant about it. But I do think it would be nice if there was a little bit more community in the underground scene. I don't know how that happens anymore, because there's just so many people who make music and make cover art and produce and throw shows, and it's hard for there to be like a community. So it's kind of a shame. I feel bad for people who didn't even. I mean, even when like you were coming up, like we had our own little group of friends and like
We had
people
like the
collabed
Texas
with,
group.
yeah, and people collabed with each other and stuff like that. And I don't know, time goes on and things kind of fall apart. So it makes me sad, I guess, for newer artists that I
Yeah.
feel like even if you do have your own little group, it's harder to get anywhere. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And then I also think to like piggyback on that is it's also harder to have community because I feel like there are so many more artists now, so there's a bigger competition. And I
Right.
think that people back then, like you said, it was like there's only a finite amount of people who are I mean, there was always a million artists in the underground, but
Sure.
there was like 50 that were doing it,
Yeah.
right? And so they were all like, "Oh, we're all doing it, so let's all work together and like have this crossover." But now there's a million that are doing it,
Yeah.
and there's a sense of I think there's more of a sense of competition instead of community now of like I have to beat 700,000 people on TikTok to get where I want to be instead of let me work with 700. You know what I'm saying? And I think that it's a very toxic thing. But I fall victim to it because I'm like I have to be better than all these people instead of I need to work with all these people, you know, and like or not even work with all of them, but just like have the community with them. And I think it's harder to have the community when there is that underlying sense of like I have to beat all these people to even get
Well, yeah,
noticed.
you're.
Yeah.
I totally agree, and that's such like an isolating feeling
Yeah.
because it kind of automatically like pits you against people
Yeah.
as opposed to being maybe more open
Yeah.
to. But it's kind of like it's just not. It's like not as beneficial anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think the artists themselves having a sense of community trickles down to like the fans also having a sense of community,
Mhm.
and now I feel like you miss out on that too
Mm-hmm.
because if you like if you really like underground music, you can go talk to your friend who really likes underground music too, and y'all could not even be in the same universe of like
Yeah.
who y'all like.
The underground's so huge. It's just vast.
And it's hard. It's so much of having a community involves fans,
Mm-hmm.
and like I think that's a shame too. It's just kind of harder to achieve because there's so many different things and there's so much to consume.
Yeah.
Like even when new music comes out, I follow like Instagram pages that'll tell you like here's what's coming out this Friday, and here's what's like albums and singles from
Yeah.
like underground artists or whatever, and there's so much
Yeah.
that you can't. If you're a fan of the underground, you can't listen to all that music in a weekend.
No.
Like,
Yeah.
because it's too much.
Yeah.
You have to pick
Yeah.
what you like out of the list, and then like maybe get around to that stuff later.
Yeah.
But by that time, there's already a bunch of new stuff coming out.
Yeah, and then also I think that the underground is just it's like a different atmosphere now because I feel like back in our glory days or whatever of the underground, it was very separated from the flip side, which is like mainstream stuff. Like it was very
Yeah.
different, right? But now I see people and they're like, oh, Ken Carson, Destroy Lonely are running underground rap, but they're signed to Cardi.
Yeah.
So
and they-
like, who's like a major star?
Yeah.
So it's like
Ken Carson has like 10 million.
that's what I'm
listeners.
saying. And so like, I think that the idea of the underground is like warped, and I don't think it's anyone's fault really. And I'm not also hating on Lone or Ken because I fuck with them. But it's just like, and then you got like people like Netspend, who is like an underground rapper, but also working with like Opium and shit. And it's like, well then, but then so they're like not in what we
Right.
would call an underground,
Yeah.
right? So I feel like labels and like big corporation music, which is like what mainstream and stuff, has recognized the underground at this point and started scooping in. And I think
Yeah.
that it's kind of changed the atmosphere of what, at least in what was my underground when I was first, coming out, was like very much, hey, let's lean on each other instead of leaning on the big people with the big
Yeah.
money. And I think that it's just kind of all switched. And then now, obviously, like with TikTok being introduced and stuff, it was that's another thing is with TikTok, you don't really have to lean on other artists because you just get that one that pops,
Yeah.
and then you go off and sign to a label, and
Yeah.
so there was like we had to lean on each other,
Yeah.
to like, hey, I need some of your fans and you need some of my fans, and like,
That,
you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
that was the only way to
But
cross
now
over.
that but now
Right.
but now it's, I'll see a guy who's never, he made his first song and it popped on TikTok, and all of a sudden he's signed into a label. So there's just no need for that, like, us all to come up together to fuck the system. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So it's just a different world. And
Yeah.
sometimes it is, you know, as a consumer of it, it is hard because like you said, there's so many people. And like, I'll find a new artist that I like on TikTok every day, but then every day. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden now in a week, I found 8 new artists that I really like, and they're all putting out monsoons of music,
Yeah.
and I can't keep up with all of them, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm pitting them against each other of like who gets my listen, you
Yeah.
know? And I just don't think that's, it's toxic. And then as the artist, again, it's like I fall into a toxic of like, I'm not gonna show love to that person because I want to beat them,
Yeah.
And I try to bring myself out of that and like
Well, I
always
think
show love.
I think especially in like hip hop, like I think
Friendly
is
competition's
fine.
great, but when it turns into like I want you to lose so I can win, is
Yeah.
bad. And I fall into that, and I try to be better about that every day of my life, and like
Yeah.
show love where it is deserved. Because I see artists all the time that are so tough, and I try now to like, like, hey, like let's work together. If you have an open, like let's do something, and like even if not, like let me just follow you real quick so that we can like see each other's stuff and like,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. So I mean, yeah. Other than what you just said, I don't really know how to combat that or change it. And maybe it's not even ultimately like a bad thing. It's just change potentially.
Everything changes.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I do think it's interesting. I think that I don't know. I guess my final thought on that is just I think it is important to make an effort to have a community and kind of build up other people in your community. I think it's just a lot different now and a lot harder, but yeah, I think it's important, and hopefully it becomes more common.
Yeah, I think the only way to combat that in any sense of the way is just like artists. If you're say you're playing an underground show, like just support the lineup. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like it's just show love to your fellow artist type thing. If you see an underground artist, just show love, and it doesn't have to progress further than that. But like, just do that, and maybe one day we'll all come together and be friends.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. Well, we can wrap it up there.
Hell yeah!
Thanks for watching.
I love you guys.
Bracket soon, and we'll keep more of these coming. I don't know what'll happen. Zach's about to have a kid.
Yeah, my baby's due like literally in like a week or two. So-
Yeah. So maybe I'll do like a solo episode for like a week or
Yeah, we can do one in the delivery room.
yeah, that'd be funny.
Yeah.
We could put Haley. Haley can be a ghost.
Yeah, in like the hospital bed.
Yeah, but we'll figure it out because I do want to keep this rolling. Yeah, thanks guys for watching. You're the goat. You guys are the goats. If you have any questions, anything you want us to talk about, any feedback, whatever, let us know. And we'll see you next time.
Love you.